I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, March the 3rd, brought to you in part by Macrocin by Bimeda. Effective treatment with no BS. Just a straight shooting antibiotic that does what it's supposed to do. Pay for what you need and not for what you don't. For more information, go to macrocin.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards in Carthage, Missouri. They're expecting 13,000 for the regular feeder cattle auction today. Here on Monday. They had ideal weather conditions over the weekend, got a lot of cattle in there. Going to be starting at 4 o'clock in the morning. So better get there if you want to get there for the first one. You can't buy them all if you don't get the first one. But they've had a special bred cow sale late last week on Thursday afternoon. I told you about it. It was a success. Only about 550 head, which would be pretty light for them. But bred heifers up to 35 and a quarter. Bred cows up to $3,400 and pairs up to $4,000, so pretty snappy. But just about finished with the new addition there, and you're thinking, my gosh, what would they need to do to improve Joplin regional stockyards? Well, they put a new addition on there. They can put a few more thousand under the roof, and also did that to kind of speed up the loadout. So check them out at joplinstockyards.com, and you can watch all their sales at DVAuction.com. Beef tallow. There's a lot of talk about beef tallow in the news here lately. They Steak and Shake, a pretty popular fast food restaurant, has said that they are planning to use beef tallow instead of seed oil when they fry all their French fries. So that restaurant says that by March the 1st, which has already gone by, all their French fries will be RFK'd. So that's what they meant by they're following some guidelines by the new Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy. He put out a statement and said he thanked the restaurant for leadership in the crusade to make America healthy again. So we've got a great cabinet all in line now, and everybody's fighting in the same direction, and we've got a leader that gets right out there and fights for our spot in the world, and in the negotiations with other countries that we've been helping out right in front of the camera, lets us show how hard he can fight for us. So if you can't get behind that, I don't know how to help you there, guys. But our slaughter has been slashed here of late, and if you hadn't noticed that, I mean, anything under 600,000 is very, very light, and we've only been killing in the 560 range here for the last several weeks, and it's sure light, and the packers are said to be losing money, and I guess you would consider them losing money whenever they're paying a lot more, or not a lot more, but paying more for some dressed steers and heifers than what the box beef cutout value is for choice cuts. So that doesn't leave them anything for the expense of cutting all that stuff up. But pretty tough, but we really cut back on the kills. Of course, our carcasses are so much bigger. But I'll tell you somebody that hasn't cut back, and that is Brazil. And you know that Brazil has kind of moved in. 2 of our big 4 are based out of Brazil. And they, last year in 2024, averaged over 750,000 a week. We can't even get to stay up with 600,000. And they averaged over 750,000 a week last year. And that was up 15% from the previous year. So I guess they'll keep bringing that stuff over, the cheap lean that they get from those. Of course, granted, most of their cattle are probably almost half smaller than what ours are. And they're brush fed. Don't have much fed cattle there, but we get a lot of cheap lean from them, and that holds us back, even though we've got all-time record high prices here on lots of classes of cattle. But they've been struggling, the packers have here, keeping the box beef cutout values high, even though the retail levels are high. So somebody's taken more than their share in there, and it's somewhere in the wholesale or retail part right in there is what it appears to be. But I don't think we get a really true measurement of what the market is on wholesale beef. We only get a little bit of the spot market that they trade in, and that is about as shallow as the spot cash cattle that they buy. But you want to talk about the board for last week, February live cattle futures. Monday was up $1.07, Tuesday was up 60, Wednesday down 67, Thursday up 57, Friday down $1.67, with February live cattle futures ending the week at 197.72. That was down just a dime, just 10 cents a hundred there. So held up pretty well. And our spot markets, the nearbys, held up really well, even on Friday when the market was down with a lot of profit taking. We did see that our nearbys spot market month has held up better because it's got to stay somewhere near the cash there. April live cattle were down $1.30 for the week at 192.65. March feeder cattle, Monday was up big, up 435. You remember that. Tuesday was up 192, Wednesday up 15, Thursday up 207. So it was up all week until Friday. And like I said, they got to take their profits there. So Friday it was down 147. Your back months were down quite a bit more than that. But still, March contracts gained $7.02 for the week, ending the week at 274.97. April ended the week at 273, and that was up 545. Your grains were down big. March corn ended the week at 453.5. That was down 37 3/4 for the week. Beans ended the week at 1011.5. That was down 28 cents a bushel. Hard red winter wheat for March ended the week at 558 1/4. That was down 51 cents. So rough week for the grains there. Fat cattle trade up through Thursday. They had only sold 7,700 head in the entire 5-area feeding region negotiated cash. Of course, I've been telling you the last several weeks, they don't really need to buy any negotiated cattle. They've got enough captive supplies to finish up their kill, as light as the kill is. And if they just completely stop all negotiated trade with independent feeders, that was the demise of the hog industry, guys, if you remember that. But the few live sales of fat steers and heifers we did see up through Thursday last week ranged just from 197 to 198, not even over $2 anymore. That's $1 to $3 lower. Weighted average on live steers 197.74. That was down about $1.90 on the weighted average up through Thursday. Now dress sales ranged from 311 to 313, and that was $2 to $7 lower. Weighted average on dress steers 312.77. That was down 235. Now on Friday we did see a little bit more trade in all areas, so it was so light up through Thursday. But on Friday, Iowa sold 4,100 head, only 6,500 for the week. We were used to Iowa selling about 30,000 here whenever our kills are up to snuff, but only 6,500 for the week up through 2 o'clock on Friday. Live sales on Friday in Iowa 198 to 199, so a pinch better than what had been earlier in the week, but still steady to $2 lower on live sales on Friday. Dress sales ranged 312 to 315. Nebraska sold 5,600 on Friday, 10,250 for the week. That is nothing for Nebraska. Live sales 197 to 199. Dress sales 313, but they did have posted on the mandatory market report there that they sold some for 315 picked up. So only 313 delivered to the plant, but 315 FOB the feed yard. So you guys make sense of that. The FOB doesn't affect the base price, so I guess that's why they can give more for those. Kansas sold 5,100 on Friday. They'd only sold about 500 more than that before Friday. Live sales on Friday in Kansas 195 to 198, but mostly all 197. Texas sold 2,250. They'd only sold a couple hundred more than that earlier than week, but on Friday they sell in Texas from 197 to 198. Now the Fed Cattle Exchange did sell some live cattle, top quality cattle in Kansas at 198. on Friday, and they did sell some bid the grid beef on dairies there at 197. That was FOB on the grid, guys. So they're fighting and they're trying for them. That may be the only way we get any negotiated trade as we go forward there. But box beef cutout values on the whole weighted average for all of last week's trade on choice cuts were down 96 cents compared to the previous week at 312.79. Now your late Friday sales were about a buck lower than that at 311.83. Weighted average on all of select sales last week was 303.10, down 78 cents compared to the previous week's weighted average. And the late Friday sales on selects were about a buck lower also, 302.05. Choice select spread on your weighted average was $9.69, very narrow there. And all that based on 651 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Your slaughter, disappointing slaughter, 566,000. No Saturday kill at all, of course. That was 3,000 less than the disappointing slaughter the previous week and 28,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Gene Plus Brangus. If you're looking for just a tick of ear but not too much ear, Gene Plus has spent decades stacking quality phenotype, maternal excellence, high-end performance on feed and on the rail, and also have gotten to a sheath design that is basically accepted by the industry, or they find that acceptable. They're going to be having a Gene Plus Brangus sale at Chimney Rock Cattle Company in Concord, Arkansas, coming up March the 25th. It'll be on DVAuction.com. For more information, you can go to geneplusbrangus.com. Talk about your feeder cattle market, brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance, working to ensure your livelihood. Your real-time index ended the week at 280.33. Now that was actually $2.62 lower, and feeder cattle were higher last week. Well, the reason for that was the previous week, well, it would have been so cold we didn't have hardly any receipts in the index, and it's a 7-day moving average. So we went from 11,000 in that index to over 50,000 after we finished this week, and so a lot more commodity cattle sucked that down a little bit, but still it's a very good indicator. And your latest CME cash feeder cattle index sitting at 281.06. Your cash feeder trends in your sales last week: feeder cattle going right into the feedlot, steady to $3 higher. Calves, feeder calves were $3 to $8 higher. But true stockers, now I mean a hard wintered calf or a lightweight yearling, those that have the condition to turn right out, selling from $10 to $20 higher. Big sale on Friday, Fort Pierre Livestock Auction, Fort Pierre, South Dakota. They had 7,000 head. It was a very impressive sale. They had 1,210 head of 6-weight steers that averaged 653 with a weighted average price of $335.31. 1,015 head of 7-weight steers averaged 767 at $304.92, and 752 head of 8-weight steers averaged 835 at $284.35. They had over 1,000 head of heifers that sold for replacements. They weighed from 7 to 8 1/4 and bring from 273 all the way up to 331. So there are people buying and putting together replacement heifers, guys. Your individual quotes late last week and over the weekend. How about Magnus Livestock Market in Huron, South Dakota? They sell 75 steers, weighed 801 at 286. How about Winter Livestock Auction in Winter, South Dakota? 95 steers, weighed 666 at 343. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere late last week and over the weekend, and your Macrison No BS top quote for the day, indeed come out of Fort Pierre Livestock Auction in Fort Pierre, South Dakota, was 52 steer calves, weighed 579 and bring 370, 350. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.